Hey everyone, Matt Reeve here, Campus Programs Manager at Firman Innovation and Entrepreneurship. And with an exciting intro today to our designer in residence, Joe Heritage. So Joe, thanks for joining me today. So Joe, if you just want to give us a quick background on yourself, as well as how you came to be the newest member of FUINE, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. So again, my name is Joe Heritage. I'm the new designer in residence at Firman University Innovation Entrepreneurship. Super thrilled to be here. For the past 3 years before this, I was teaching design and innovation at Columbia University. I was fortunate enough to get my master's there. Before that, I spent about 7 years working in a refugee camp in East Africa. And I was really surrounded by people who have to be innovative by nature to sort of survive and thrive in a really difficult scenario. And before that, I got my undergraduate degree at Firman University. I was a history major. And I think the beauty of a liberal arts education like Firman allows you to be a critical thinker and use whatever major you have and sort of apply it to a multiplicity of areas of work in the future. So yeah, I just was sort of looking for a change of pace. I'd been in New York for about the past 5 years. COVID was kind of hitting, this opportunity was on the rise, and I was just excited to come back down here.
Awesome. I know a lot of your work kind of dealt with both design thinking and human-centered design. And just for everybody out there, really what delineates those two? What is the difference between design thinking and human-centered design?
Right, yeah, so for the 7 people who knows what that is, I'll explain it a little more. So to me, design thinking is a process that can be taught, and that can be applied to any real problem, right? So, if you think about a cigarette company like Marlboro, they could use a design thinking process to come up with an improved product, right? So you could think about, you're trying to explore a problem, reframe it, generate ideas and prototype solutions. You can really do that for anything, for car companies, for a host of other industries. And so design thinking is a specific process that exists to improve something. Human-centered design is an extra layer that's a mindset that's added on top of that. And so that says that whatever innovation or intervention we're going to develop is going to have a positive impact for our end user. So just some quick examples from my work of how I've used design thinking in the process. Then the mindset of human-centered design is, working with the Prime Minister of Tunisia to create youth de-radicalization policies, working with IKEA in Indonesia to help them source lumber from poor farmers so they can increase their income. Working in India with entrepreneurs to come up with a better pitch for their entrepreneurial ventures. Working in Brazil to put technology in classrooms from kids from a lower SES background. So design thinking is the process that says, here's the world as it is, and here's the world as it should be. Let's come up with a new solution. Human-centered design is the mindset that says, okay, no matter what we do, we're going to always make sure that we're keeping our user, our human, at the center of the problem, and their life is going to be better because of these interventions we've developed.
Yeah, so kind of play hand in hand, but do have the differences there.
For sure.
Well, in the scope of, let's say, Firman Innovation Entrepreneurship, why is design thinking and human-centered design, why are those critical to us moving forward, both in terms of us as an institute, but maybe the students we interact with as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's kind of a cliche, but it's like the world is changing, and 2020 is going to be one of those watershed years, like 1968 or 1865, like something that we're going to look back in history and say, like, that's a moment when something really shifted. And so I think of what we're dealing with, the current pandemic. We need to find better ways to solve really difficult problems. And I think the process of innovation allows us to do that. And I think a lot of people, it's important to think entrepreneurially. You want to start a new business or a new venture. But I think we want to really instill in Firman students this idea you can be intrapreneurial, just thinking like an entrepreneur within an existing structure or system. And so I think for Firman students, they're well poised to sort of look at challenges, both on campus and how to deliver high quality education to the college students, but also in Greenville and beyond to think, what is life like in a COVID-19 or post-COVID-19 world as it relates to healthcare, to education, to access to food, to access to finance. And so I think this process is going to be really helpful for those students to sort of tackle some daunting challenges that are ahead of them.
Well, it's funny you mentioned how the students could use that. So Firman Innovation Entrepreneurship, we have just launched our inaugural Innovation Council, and you've been critical to that. You and I worked super hard on that, and I think we're really excited the way it can go. So the Innovation Council, for those out there that don't know, it's really the premier group of students on campus in terms of leadership development, in terms of innovation, and just being engaged in something bigger than yourself. So we're going to use this group of students to really help build this culture of innovation on campus. And and then lead it through example, with putting on programs. We're very excited and energized by the students we have and how it's going to work out. But in terms of what you do, Joe, how can we apply this design thinking and everything you just talked about to the Innovation Council, to these students?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question. So, the first step for us is really going to be education, right? So like we said, design thinking is a process that can be taught and can be learned. So it's going to be critical for our innovation consultants to go through that process. So we're going to take them through a series of workshops that will both give them those design tools, but also really help them to think about how to do creative storytelling, or how to tell the story of a problem, how to pitch an idea, also sort of how to pitch and develop themselves. So we're really looking at building them up as innovators who can think critically and quickly on ambiguous problems, and also being able to position and market themselves as people who are different, sort of from the status quo. Another thing that we'll do that we're really excited about is we're going to be connecting these innovators, these students, to real world problems in the community. That could be around healthcare, that could be around access to education at Furman, but we're going to be thinkers and we're going to be doers, great thinkers and great doers at the same time. So we're going to get this theoretical knowledge of design, and then we're going to apply it right away. Design is iterative, which means it builds upon itself. So we'll learn a process, and then we'll maybe try and solve a problem like, what is it like to be discharged from the hospital? Instead of 6 hours, having that happen in 3 hours. I don't have the answer to that, but we can use this design process to go out and interview people, to go out and figure out what the bottlenecks are, and where the problems really exist. And then we can come up with ideas, we can implement them and test really quickly. And I think that's sort of the great thing about design, is you build these little prototypes, these little tests. Instead of saying, well, we'll spend 18 months trying to figure out how to fix the discharge process at a hospital, you might spend 3 weeks doing interviews and then come up with some ideas, and then we're going to test them right away. And so I think it's really a theoretical base with then practical application of these problems. And sort of like I said earlier, the beauty of design and innovation process is it can be applied to any industry. So I think we're excited to see where that will go. So yes, the spring will be, students being taught, then also having sort of, you can call them capstone or consulting projects that they'll be working on. And they'll be giving sort of a final deliverable to these clients at the end of the semester in April and then May.
I love that you bring up the education part. I think so many student groups lack that base education to really help them make the group what it is. And I think that's our first goal is, hey, I'll tell you what to do before you can do it. And you touched on this consulting project, this capstone or whatever it might be. So that's one thing students can expect out of this, as well as the community. But what can people, expect to be done and to come out of the IC, and what is going to be the deliverables, and why is it important for Furman and the community?
Yeah, it's a great question, and so one thing that I'll layer on top of that is, we're helping these students work with clients on specific challenges. We're also going to connect them to a really robust mentor network, right? So it's our job to really help them solve problems, but we might not have that industry expertise with every single thing they're working on. So that'll be a critical piece as well. It's also important as leaders to say, here's what we don't know, and here's how we're going to kind of fill in the gaps. But to your question as to what that final deliverable will be, you really have to see. I've worked on projects where our final deliverable was a process where we helped people increase a workflow, and made it more productive. It could be a physical product, like an improved MRI machine. It could be a process to test the moisture quality in corn before it goes to harvest. It could be a literal iPad that gets used in a classroom in a different way. And so we really have to think and look critically at the problems that we approach, the challenges that we're given by these clients, who we're still developing at the moment. And we have to be open to see what those solutions will be. So it could be a physical product, it could be an app, it could be a process. I've seen an innovation just be a Post-it note on someone's computer that says, make sure to call this person, and it's saved an industry millions of dollars. So we really just have to be open to what those processes will do.
Yeah, and that's what innovation is, and design thinking is being open and the world as it comes. And speaking of that, as you might know, we are amidst a global pandemic here, and I think a lot of people have taken this to kind of back off and be like, all right, let's reevaluate where we're at. And as you know, Furman Innovation Entrepreneurship, we have taken this to put our pedal to the metal, really gas the floor and go all out. And a lot of people have been questioning, why are you doing this stuff? Why now? So in regards to Innovation Council, why now? Why during this COVID-19 epidemic, when everybody else is going virtual and kind of backing off? Why are we doing this?
Yeah, I think because we're relentless innovators, and we look at opportunity, and one thing I tell students all the time is, there's the world as it is, and now imagine the world as it should be. And we spoke again about this being a watershed year. I want ourselves as the Innovation Council and students and firms to know that we use our times, talents, and energy to the best of our ability in the midst of really a global crisis. And so I guess, the real question is, why not? There's opportunities there. We might not know what all the solutions are, but, I think it can also be frustrating because if you're not a healthcare professional, you might think, gosh, I don't really know how to be contributing. But I think another thing that's important for us is just this notion of kind of, service over self, right? We want to gain these great tools. We want to create better solutions, for our neighbors, for our community, and for our world. And so I think that's what we're passionate about, the Innovation Council. And we do that with humility, and we do that with a lot of intelligence. We do that with hard work and resilience. And, the other thing is when we come up with solutions, we're co-designing solutions in tandem with the people that we're serving and working with. It's not a top-down telling them what's going to happen, but it's an ability to sort of work together. And I think that's refreshing. And I think, people's problems are often not listened to or not validated. And so that's our job. And, I often tell clients and students, my loyalty is not to myself and, my name getting great, but my loyalty is to the problem to solve that. So instead of why, I think it's, why not?
Love that. I know you're a busy guy. Final question. How'd you get your hair to look so great today? Just really.
I think, so here's the real thing. I went and cut down a Christmas tree with my niece and nephew. I think a little sap got in my hair from the tree. So that's what I want to think is giving it this great look at the moment.
You heard it here first, everybody. Tree sap and winter spirit. Well, Joe,
there to go.
Thanks for joining me on the call. I'm really looking forward to this next semester, the year, really. How can we tackle these problems and make students have a meaningful experience?
Absolutely, man. Let's get after it.